Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Let's dance, shall we? Today we're taking a look at a hugely awaited expansion for one of my favorite dice drafting games, Grand Austria Hotel, where today we're going to be waltzing around the ballroom and 4 other modules. Let's take a look, I'll see you on the other side. Now Let's Waltz has 5 different modules. Let's first talk about the largest one, which are the ballrooms. There's many different ballrooms in the game, and only 3 of them are used, and you put them in random order. Now these are going to give you something different that you can do with your guests. Because now when you get resources like the 1 or 2 die, instead of taking like strudel and just cake for number 1, you can also get a resource called champagne. And when you get red wine or coffee, you can get a champagne. But as you can see, it's hard to get champagne because you need to have more cake, take more cake than at least as much cake and or strudel as champagne. So for example, if you want champagne, you're gonna need to take 1 strudel and 1 cake if you're taking 1s. Or if you want champagne from 2s, you gotta take 1 red wine, 1 coffee, and then that's the only time that you can take at least 1 champagne. So if you want 2 champagnes, you have to take 2 of everything, meaning you have to have a power of 6. So it's really hard to get this resource of champagne. Now as you can see here in the bottom right, some customers or guests need champagne for you to fulfill them. But in addition to any of that, when you finish them, instead of sending them to a room as normal, you can spend champagne to send them to the ballroom. Now you can see in this ballroom, the 3 bottom spots only cost 1 champagne, but the second level is 2 champagne, the third level is 3 champagne. And the second and third levels have rewards, like on the left here you see, hey, you get $2 extra, or up there, $3 extra. And each of these score differently and score in different rounds. This one you can see at the top, it scores at the end of round 7. And this one scores as you take the amount of dancers that you have there in this ballroom and you multiply it by the highest level. So in this case, I just have 1 times 2, so 2. But if you had like 5 people in this ballroom and you had one on a level 3, that'd be 15 points. So it could be pretty big. Oh, by the way, these dancers come with stickers. We did not sticker them. So I wish they were screen printed, but they're supposed to kind of have dancers on the front of those. Now this ballroom scores at the end of the 5th round, and you'll get 15 points if you have the most, 10 for second place, and 5 for third place, for example. And you can see the rewards up there. Second level gives you a cake, third level gets you all 3, red wine, coffee, and strudel, for example. And this ballroom, for example, is scored at the end of the 3rd round up top, and you'll get a certain amount of points depending on the amount of dancers you have there. For example, purple here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By the way, there's a special ability that allowed me to play from one of those characters, extra ballroom dancers there, 2 on the same spot, which usually is not able to be done. I had 6, so I'm gonna get the maximum there of 25 points. That was huge. Now there's another module that changes the first player and gives you a key. If you see, there's a board there on the left here, and that's a new board. And if you take that action, you take the key, and you're going to be first turn next round. However, if there's a 3rd or 4th player there, they would actually get $1 and $2 respectively for you doing that. But essentially, you can get a power of 1 of any die when you do that. So you're not getting a very powerful action, but you are getting to go first next round, which could be hugely important. Because there's another module called Celebrities. In each round there's going to be 3 celebrities available, and you'll see that there's different colored dice there. Those essentially replaced one of the white dice in the game. And they get rolled, and they actually get placed on the action board as well. But every other, like the middle one there, it's a 1. So if I take a 1 action, for every other die other than this yellow one, that's a 1. Could be might even one of those other colors. I have to pay $1. But then I get to take this celebrity, and to the end of the round, it's going to give me a special ability, which means it's only good for most 2 turns, basically. And this says, like, for example, anytime I go up on the Emperor track, I can play a staff card for $2 less. So they give you a little ability. Now, every round that they're not taken, the points double. So it goes from 1 to 2 points, and then from 2 to 4 points if it's not taken. It maxes out at 4 points. So sometimes you can get really good points for them, but other times they can be very powerful. Some of these can make you have humongous turns comboing these with something else that you're doing, which is a very important time to have first turn order when you really want to get one of these. Now we spoke about the ballroom. There's also an extra board that goes on the left side of your hotel there, and those on the left side are typically filled up with all your dancers, and you can take them off in any order, but anytime you completely remove one from a section, you'll get abilities, like the bottom one. I do my first dance there, I get $1. Or the third section up there, you get 3 people off and you have to go 2 on the upper track and a champagne. So you'll be getting these different bonuses. The top one's great. Immediately fill any 3 rooms and get 2 points. That's huge. Now there's also unique hotels, essentially a special ability that everyone will get. You'll get to draft these at the beginning of reverse turn order. But like in this one, if I'm the most, anytime a ballroom scores, if I have the most, in addition to the normal points, I'll also get 4 points. There at the very bottom there, that tile. But if also any reward I get, if you remember the ballrooms have rewards for the second and third levels, I get to double those rewards. It also gives you some unique starting goods instead of the standard one from the base game. In this case, 1 strudel, 1 cake, 1 red wine, and 2 champagne. Now there's also all sorts of new staff cards and objectives and emperor tiles, and in the bottom right of those cards it has a module there, because some of them, you can mix all the modules together, but you can even play some of them without others. Like for example, in this one, you need specific modules, they come from certain modules. So there are cards and things, staff cards and objective cards that you can play with without having other ones. But like for example, this middle one, you need to have the ballrooms to play that card. If you're not playing with the ballrooms, that card wouldn't be possible. But in that one, it's like, hey, the first one to get 7 dancers up there in the ballroom will get a certain amount of points and things like that. And the other 2, new cards. So there's lots of new cards you can add as well. And the cool thing is, if you didn't want to play with the ballrooms because it adds a lot of mechanisms, you could add cards that don't have ballrooms in there, right? And so you could still have quite more variability without adding all of the mechanisms from the modules. And again, some of the emperor tiles you could see here, the one on the A tile, you need to be playing with the ballroom, and you'd get 2 champagne, but you'd lose champagne and lose 5 points if you don't get it. So again, the one on the right there comes from one of the extra modules as well. And that's pretty much it. Lots of going on here, lots of different things you can add in or not. Oh, you could throw it all in like you're seeing here with just taking up tons of room on your table, but looks quite cool. Okay. I already mentioned this was one of my favorite dice drafting games. Now this is more of first impressions because I've only played this once, but I did play with all 5 modules. So now, the things I like about this, some modules can be added with first-time players. And this is huge because, again, I don't often find myself playing expansions to games that I own a lot because I tend to be playing with a lot of different people, and a lot of them haven't played the base game, and sometimes you just can't play expansions with base games. And that's true for this too for some of the modules. But there are some of them that you could add and just get some variability for yourself without changing any of the complexity for the other players. For example, you could give everyone one special ability thing, for your unique hotel. You could do that, wouldn't add that much more. If you're playing with a seasoned gamer and they haven't played Grand Austria Hotel before, you could just add that module in and that'd be fine. And it's gonna make it even more interesting for you. There's different, objective cards and staff cards and emperor tiles. Add that one in, because you could definitely add the ones in with the modules that you're not playing with and still, again, get a little bit more variety. My favorite style of expansion is when you can mix a bunch of cards and it gives games varieties. Obviously not every game can have that, but this has that opportunity, and I'm glad that they separate out that module. So you could still get some expansion for yourself, and the other players won't be able to tell the difference really, and it's not any more complicated. So I love the sort of, Swiss Army knife that this expansion sort of adds to it. Now, this turns a game that already had tough decisions into an absolute brain burner. Now, I've got to admit, I never felt like Grand Austria Hotel needed an expansion. I never did. I've never gotten sick of it. I've never gotten to the point where I feel like I'm doing the same thing every game. Just, different strategies, different boards, different sides of boards, different tiles, different objectives each game, different characters or guests coming out at different times. Like, it's always a different staff cards you get or draft. Like, every game always felt so different to me anyways. I honestly never felt like this needed an expansion, but I do love it. And it does take this thing to the next level of like grandioseness, epicness, and brain burnerness. I love it. This moved the game from sort of like a more linear experience to like a complete sandbox. Because like in the base game, you're like, okay, I'm trying to get guests, I'm trying to get them into rooms, I'm trying to finish sections of rooms, oh, I'm trying to deal with the emperor, oh, I'm trying to go for these objectives, and it's pretty linear of like what you're trying to do. But like when you add all of these modules, oh my gosh, there's so many different opportunities, different things, because they all go together. Because now you've got cards that deal with the ballrooms and staffs that do it and resources that do it. And all these things go together at once, and it's like, holy crap. Like there's just so many. This game was always one of those games where like you could never get enough done anyway. You always felt like, oh, I just wish I had a few more turns, in a good way. But this is even more so because there's so much more you could do with the ballrooms and such, but there's still the same amount of turns. So like that angst goes up in this game and the tension goes up, and it just gives you way more freedom to do whatever the heck you want to do. You can go down different varied strategies now. It really opens this game up. Not that I felt like it needed it, but oh my gosh, it just amped this game up like crazy. I love the nice new player aid for the new staff cards. That really helped out a lot because you can look at, they have the base ones and the new ones. You just look it up by number. I had like the first printing of this, and like it didn't even have numbers in the staff cards. You had to look them up by names. That was kind of a pain in the butt. The module of the celebrities. I like this because it's not too complex and they're very situational. You're not doing them all the time, but if you can find the right one to enact at the right time, like in the game I played, there was one that nobody was buying because it kind of went towards my special ability, the ballrooms, and I waited for the right time. I took a first player mark of the round before. I was able to trigger it, and that one celebrity not only got me just 12 points face value for the points and the other things I did, but it allowed me that turn to score so many more points I normally would be. And so the celebrities give you these opportunities to have huge scoring turns. Now, they're very limited because you can only use them in the round you get them, but if you time it right and you set yourself up right and you get them in the round that you're having a big turn, it adds to that. It's like, whoa. Like players will have huge scoring turns with some of these celebrities, and I like that aspect of it. It gives the game a lot of interesting little peaks during the game. I also felt like it changed the scoring a lot too, because it's like players would be doing stuff and then they'd have a huge turn and jump way ahead of everybody else. And then like a round later, somebody else would do the same. It's like we were just having this huge game of like leapfrog because of some of these celebrities. And I like that aspect of it. It made the game feel bigger. The first player aspect, I love that. Now, it's not going to be as useful in a two-player game, of course. But when you play with multiple players, it's great, and it absolutely works when you're trying to do the timing of those celebrities. Like the round before, I got that celebrity that I planned for 2 rounds. Luckily, nobody took it in those rounds. I was able to get the first player and then get that thing and do that huge turn, and it was worth it for me. I talked about the unique hotels, the abilities. Those are great. Those are fun. Add them every single time you play this game, regardless of if they've played before. The new staff and emperor cards and objectives, awesome. Throw those in every time. Now, the ballrooms and the champagne, again, they add so much to the game. The champagne's really hard to get because you got to get at least 3, one of everything just to get a champagne. But this game, even though it becomes more of a sandbox game, this might be a negative for some people that you can almost completely neglect or concentrate on the rooms, which was like the whole point of the first game, really. Most of it. Getting tons of points at rooms, getting bonuses, sure, getting points from objective cards and not avoiding things from the Emperor. But it was very much focused about getting guests into rooms, where now it's not. And I had an ability that was very ballroom centric, and I did not even concentrate one bit on rooms. At the end, I think I had 4 rooms completed. And that was only because one of my bonuses from sending ballrooms allowed me to prepare rooms, and another one later allowed me to close those rooms, and I did get good bonuses from those. But you can almost completely neglect the rooms in this game and still do really well. I did very well. I didn't win the game, but it was very competitive, very close. So you can almost neglect what the game used to be about. That's how freeing this game is. I think that's great. Some players might be like, I feel like I'm playing a completely different game now. And they might not like that. And if not, well, then there's other modules that I talked about that you may want to play with anyways. So there's that. Some of the ballrooms now fight over majorities, which means there's more interaction. To me, before this, it was a 2-player game. It's great with 2, with more, it just adds a lot more time, and it doesn't add a lot more interesting because it's really quite solitarish other than like getting the guests. But now, 3 players is even more interesting and better than it used to be because of some of these majorities of the ballrooms and things like that. Now, on the negative side of things, I still think this is best with less players. I still would prefer it with 2 players. But again, with the majorities, the 3-player game is probably worth the extra 30 minutes or so. It's going to take a lot longer. Now, they had with the first player module, I didn't mention this, but there's a new way of drafting, which a lot of players played anyway, which was don't do the snake draft up and back, just do turn order. So it gave new tokens to allow you to do that. I got to tell you, 2-player game, I still play the snake draft. I love that sort of Mr. Jack sort of thing where you get the first and you get the first best choice, but you're not going to get a choice before the other player gets 2 choices. I think that works excellent with 2 players. Now, players complain that with 3 and 4 players, well, if I take the first tile and I get the first thing, then I have to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other turns till it's my turn. Guess what, people? It's no different when you take the snake draft out. I took first turn order twice in this game. I'm first. When I take my last second action in a round, and I'm first, guess how many turns I gotta wait till my turn again? If nobody takes the first turn order marker. The same 6 turns. Second player, third player, fourth player. Things move. I'm now last. 1, 2, 3. I still have to wait the same amount of turns in the snake draft. So I think it's hogwash. I think a lot of people are making a big deal out of nothing. The snake draft, I think, works better because you are getting the best action first, especially in a 4-player game. You should take the last action. I don't necessarily like the first turn order thing because it doesn't really fix the problem anyway. So I think hogwash, use the first turn order. I like it, but keep the snake draft going. This game, on a negative aspect, can definitely induce way more analysis paralysis than the beginning game. The first game, you can have it anyways. In this game, forget about it. If you play with someone that has AP, you better be playing 2 players. You're gonna be there a long time. By the way, our 4-player game took 2 hours and 45 minutes. Granted, we were asking a lot of questions, even though we'd all played the base game before, and 2 of us had not played the expansion, and the other 2 had played all 5 modules multiple times. 2 of us were kind of new just the expansion, and it still took 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's a bit long, but that's because there's so much more to think of. By the way, it did not feel too long. It was still great. And then the last thing is the ballroom dancers, stickers. I really wish they would have done screen printing on this. Sure, I know it would have made it cost more, but it would have looked so much nicer than putting the stupid stickers on. Anyway, that's what I think of the Grand Austria Hotel Let's Waltz. My friend Scott brought this over. Thanks to him for allowing me to try it out. And I'm actually going to hunt this one down and purchase it because I think it's absolutely amazing. And that is Grand Austria Hotel Let's Waltz. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games by helping you find the next one you'll love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.